Hi and welcome to the show, and if you have a serious book fetish, you've come to the right place. Joining me on the panel I have Nikki van der Watt from King's College, I have Disha Koshik from Mediatel, and I have Mary Andes from Camden Creative. How are you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
You alright? Have you been reading a lot this month?
Yes. Tons.
Yes?
Lots of reading.
Well, the books I set you guys to read this time was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins and The Room by Emma Donoghue. I personally love both books, but I'm excited to hear your opinions on it. So first up, we're going to talk about The Hunger Games. The author of this book, she's actually worked in kids' TV. She did Clarissa Tells It All. You know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's my favourite.
She worked on that, and she's also done a really popular kids' book called The Underland Chronicles, so she's a really experienced writer. And in 2008, she published The Hunger Games, the first book, and then she's been doing each book since then. And obviously, it's now been made into an amazing movie. So, Mary, do you want to explain a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah, it's a trilogy. So the first book's about Katniss Everdeen. It takes place in a near future dystopian, and she has to compete against 23 other children, and only one survivor will come out to win food for her district, which is like the area she lives.
Yeah.
So she has to go to the Hunger Games with this boy from her district who's in love with her, and she's doing it all to save her sister. And it's all a very dramatic story. Lots of violence and love and fun.
What did you guys think of it? Nikki, I know you've got a different opinion of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Because I just think it's just an amalgamation of the Minotaur myth, you know, the thing where King Minos of Crete sets this labyrinth because his half-son, half-bull thing runs around, and he's a bit ashamed of it. He hides it under grass, what you do in ancient Greece. And then one of his other sons gets killed by some Athenians, and so he says to Athens, like, right, you have to send me a whole bunch of youths every year, and I'm going to sacrifice them to the Minotaur because, you know, you killed my son, you kind of have to do this. And one day a hero guy comes along and kills the bull, and it's all a big, and runs away with his daughters, and it's a big thing. So I thought it was mainly just a massive rip-off of that, and then just obviously with any dystopian book, it's got elements of 1984 by George Orwell in it. So.
And what about you, Dish? What did you think?
I love the book, The Hunger Games, but I've not read the book you were talking about. But I have heard people say that it's, you know, it's a rip-off from other ideas. But then if you've not read anything like that, then it is a good book, and it appeals to all audiences, and it's an easy book to read. It's not anything, you know, you can read it in 2 days maximum. And
obviously she was targeting children, so she's tried to deal with quite complex issues of, you know, a sort of dystopian world where there's a lot of suffering and hunger. You know, the districts are poor, and then you've got the capital which rules over the districts, which is this kind of futuristic sort of high-tech world, and they repress these districts and force them to do these Hunger Games, which seems really unfair and mean, because obviously they all have to die till one's alive, and it is actually all for the entertainment of the capital. That's what it is.
I think it's a good idea, though, because she's...
The Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games. No,
not killing children.
The book, not the Hunger Games. Let's not enforce that. Like, what do we watch on TV now? Everything's reality TV. So bringing a book that's focusing on reality TV and a serious issue, that is going to work, and that's the reason it's done so well, because it's so relevant to the times, apart from the killing bit. But that whole reality TV and these whoever wins becomes minor celebrities, and
it's not really real. Well, it is in a way. It is real celebrity in a way, but it's kind of sick and twisted celebrity, because they treat these kids as if they're like animals. They're not, they're like subhuman to them, and they're just like, oh yeah, you're so cute, let's put ribbons in you, and then you can go and kill each other.
Yeah, that's like how they treat everyone in the districts, I think, the capital. And they just become like the, you know, the main one who represents all the districts.
It's like, it's the cutest animal, yay! Yeah,
it is really interesting how it progresses, because obviously it starts with Katniss Everdeen putting herself forward instead of her little innocent sister Primrose, who's 12 years old, and she has the guts to do that. It shows a lot of her strength of character at the beginning, so you really vouch for her.
Yeah, I love that.
And then it's her and Peter, another boy from the district, and you see them go on this journey together where they travel to the capital. They have their mentor Haymitch, who's sort of played in the past, and he's the one that actually won in a previous year, and he's this alcoholic, and you wonder, why is he an alcoholic? He's obviously seen a lot of awful stuff. And you see them move to the capital, and you see this transition from poverty and starvation to wealth and
Not
indulgence,
just wealth, but like crazy wealth.
and the people there are so desensitized, and that's a very interesting issue I find that she brings up in this book, is the desensitization of everybody. Everyone in the capital is so excited for them. Oh, you're playing in the games, we're going to dress you up and make you look pretty and give you this whole revamp, and
Yeah, and they think that they should be excited. Like when they meet
they
people in
think
the capital,
it too.
meet Katniss, like, oh, you must be so proud and so excited.
Yeah.
That essentially, like, statistically, you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
It's just such a corrupted viewpoint. But I think it's, like, going back to what you were saying, I think it's really interesting in this age of reality TV to have this. And I think it is, I don't know if I'd say a ripoff, maybe an homage to, like, the Minotaur myth, but it brings it to today, to this audience, and it's so applicable with, the celebrity Big Brother and everything. It's just that taken to a new extreme.
And the whole other sideline idea of the sponsors, because it's
Yeah.
entertainment ultimately, all of them dying for the capital audience. The sponsors. So Peter, the other boy, professes his undying love for Katniss, and Katniss is like, I didn't know this, but maybe he's doing it for the sponsors, because as the story goes on, that relationship is a very powerful thing for the audience. They get very involved, and the sponsors start feeding them things and helping them out, and that's a whole other interesting aspect.
But that's what they focus on in the second book, their love story. Like,
Yeah.
And
But it's so interesting the way you can't tell, at least in the beginning, if it's real or if he's just doing it to, manipulate. Because it is a show. And he's very aware of that, and so's Katniss. And so, everything they do has to have a layer of maybe reality, but more importantly, how it goes to the camera. Yeah.
Do you like Katniss as the main character? Do you find her a good role model? Because she's not a typical girl of her age. She's 16. Is she 16? Isn't
so,
she?
yeah.
yeah, 16,
Maybe a
and
bit
she's
young.
quite.
And she's not typical because of the environment she's in. This sort of subhuman. She's almost like an animal.
But
they have to hunt. Their entire life is absorbed with self-preservation and just feeding themselves.
I
And
found her
she's an
to be
interesting character.
like an anti-hero. She's not like the typical heroine. So, she makes mistakes, she does like terrible things. She's like really mean to Peter as well, but at the end you're always rooting for her.
Totally.
Because, all heroines that are too perfect, you can't associate with them. So in order to like carry the book through, because we're on her side and we're fighting for her, and even when she makes mistakes, we forgive her, because in the end she's trying to save her family.
And the reason
that's a really good thing to do.
And the reason that she's so strong and independent is you find out her dad died when she was young, and like her mum becomes quite weak and depressed, and so Katniss had to take over the role as the main provider and to look after little sister, because her mum wasn't really doing it herself. So that's why she is like who she is, because she's had to struggle.
I think it's great. Like, Katniss isn't the best character in the world or anything, but compared to, for instance, 50 Shades of Grey, which we talked about last week, I really love that there's this really popular series that has a female protagonist who's like strong and doesn't do everything. Like, there's the love triangle in the books between Peeta and Gale, her maybe boyfriend at home, but the book is very much a love story about Katniss and how much she cares for her family and her sister. And that's always number one in her mind.
Yes.
And as much as people try and set it up as like this Twilight-esque kind of thing, it's very much a story about this really strong female who will do anything for her sister and for herself. I just think it's really cool. It's really great to have that in this age of really weak characters.
She brought archery back. That's always a good thing.
Yeah,
archery kind of lost popularity, and now it's cool again.
I wonder if a lot of people started to enroll in that straight after the movie, because it
Probably.
looks
You
cool.
never know.
I don't know, didn't
does
Orlando
look cool.
Bloom bring that back in Lord of the Rings? Am I like old for saying that?
Well, no, Lord of the Rings never loses her.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a fantastic book. It has a lot of depth to it. It deals with a lot of issues, and obviously it's targeting children, so it's written probably in a little bit more of a basic way than a more sophisticated type of book.
It's
but
amazing
generally, I
how
think
much
it's
they
pretty
fit in
amazing.
there for but it's amazing how much they fit in there for a children's book. I mean, when you realize the themes that this book deals with explicitly, and it's aimed for children. I mean, it's like genocide
It
and
manages
starvation,
to
repression.
skate over child death.
But then-
quite.
It's just crazy.
See, I always worry about these children's books. Like, I read another book which is quite similar called Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Crossman.
That is
Blackman, that's it.
very
And
similar. Yeah.
It's that what they're saying, it's a kid's book, but when you read it, you think, hang on a
It's
minute.
all about racial
Yeah.
genocide.
I know what you mean. So anyway, we have to end that.
Okay.
Sorry
Obviously,
about that.
we keep talking.
Fantastic
Great
book,
series.
The Hunger Games. It's out now, and the movie's out now. So enjoy.